This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And folks, here we are approaching Christmas here on December the 16th, 2022. And I'm pretty sure the guests I have today are on Santa's nice list. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty
I know I
sure.
am.
Folks, I've had them both on before, and I've had the young lady on here a couple times prior to that, once with her brother.
Yeah.
Folks, I give you the absolutely cool tag team, House of Heathens, Ariel Teal Piper and Deimos. How do you do?
Hey,
Doing good.
how are you?
Folks, we're doing an experiment here. This is the first time this decade Deimos has seen the sun.
I'm
True.
allergic to it.
We have that in common. I'm a night person as well. Yeah. Actually, I prefer working at night because it's a lot quieter, you know? But no, it's great to see you two back. And y'all ready for Christmas?
Not even close. I don't even
I'm.
have my tree up yet.
Why not?
I just haven't had time.
Yeah.
It's on my list. I'm hoping to get to it like over this weekend.
Are you going to go Christmas caroling with the Iron Sheik?
I would love to if that opportunity is open. I can do harmonies.
You go take Deimos out Christmas caroling. He looks like a caroler.
Oh my gosh.
Would you like to go?
I'm just a security guard.
I don't think I've ever heard him even hum.
No, just security.
Well, you know what? I've got to at some point, and I have been so slow on this because I had Lisa Danielle on, who of course was one of Randy Savage's valets in Spider-Man, who's also a wrestler. Been telling her since March I'm gonna order some birch, and I haven't done it yet. But I told her be patient with me, you know. But nonetheless, I've got to order. I want to order a Roddy Piper shirt, but I want to order one of your teal shirts because I love that color.
Yeah. ProWrestlingTees.com. We have Deimos' shirts, we have my shirts, and my mom sells Roddy Piper shirts on there. You can get any of them.
I gotta get a House of Heathen shirt too, you know.
Yeah.
But I do have this on.
Uh,
Princess Victoria,
I
who
love
was
it.
on for the third time this year, and I have something to read to you. And
All
I
right.
looked this. Yep. Let me see. Okay. Ric Flair, Afa, Sika, and Roddy Piper were on the tour with us in Puerto Rico. Piper's wife Kitty was pregnant at the time with their daughter, and one afternoon, a few of us sat out by the hotel pool with Piper trying to help him come up with a good Irish name for the girl. Little does Ariel know her name was almost Chelsea Marie.
Really? I never heard that before. I heard Mary at one point was being considered, but I didn't know Chelsea Marie.
She said it in one of the interviews I did with her, and then it's right here in the book as well. And of course, I got to read this part. We look over at the pool and saw a very prominent nose floating just above the water line. You didn't have to look very hard to realize the nose belonged to Ric Flair, who was drifting lazily in the pool. Piper started humming the theme to Jaws, and we all broke up.
I can picture the scene perfectly.
Yep. So could you imagine coming to the ring, being announced as Chelsea Marie?
No, I can't. My mom has always pushed for us to have unique names. Like my elder sister is Anastasia, and my little sister is Fallon, and I'm Ariel. And I remember she fought real hard on my dad not to have like traditional names because she thought they were boring.
I didn't know your
And she's a
sister
woman,
was.
so we got it.
I didn't know your sister was Fallon because I thought they were all A names. Because I was thinking, especially with the Disney type names that you guys
That's
have.
a coincidence.
You could have named Colt Aladdin.
Aladdin. I know that my brother, my dad wanted a more proper name. My mom wanted to name him Colt because she's a big horse person and loves cowboys and stuff. And my dad was like, that's not formal enough, so she named him Colton. But then we all just called him Colt.
How's
It was her way
Colt
of like
doing?
sliding that in.
How's Colt doing?
Honestly, he's had a hard couple years. I actually haven't kind of complicated. I don't know how to explain it other than
Okay,
it's
no, I
complicated.
don't I
He's
don't
on a
know.
life
I don't
path.
know.
He's on his own life path right now. It's
Yeah. I
the
don't
best way
know.
to put it.
I was just we have
Yeah,
talked it's a Piper tribute, so
yeah.
okay. I do know that was the day your niece was born. May
Yeah,
19th.
that's right. Oh my gosh, I would have to do math, but somewhere around 12 nieces and nephews now.
Well,
It's a
you had a
lot.
niece born on
I
it
remember that.
was I think it was May 19th, 2017, because that was when I had you both on in tribute to
I
your
remember
dad.
I remember that because I had like just found out either right before we went on or during. And I was like, I have a new niece.
There you
It's a fun
go.
surprise.
How's your mom?
My mom is good. She's back in Oregon. My grandparents are, getting older, so she's been living with them, helping them out, and just kind of still figuring out life after dad. It's like I think it's hard anytime somebody's spouse dies that you spent your whole life with, figuring out where to go from there. But she's doing good. She's in good spirits.
Yeah, well, you know what? I was in your position this year. My dad passed in April, after an 8-year battle with ALS.
I'm
So,
so sorry.
yeah,
It's
that
horrible.
it is. Actually, I was working at the hospital and I had my phone off. And when I turned my phone on after I got done work, there was a message on there from my brother telling me, pick up the phone, or answer the phone. There was like 2 or 3 messages, and I knew what it was, but I saw dad the morning before he passed, so um I got to say my piece, but it's it still hasn't really sunk into me.
It it takes a lot. It's been how long? 7 years or something like that for me now, and
Mhm.
it's still very surreal for me. It's really weird feeling, and it's hard. I don't know how long it takes, but I guess I just go further in between crying now. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hard. Yeah.
I did, however, last Christmas, my brother got me that.
Oh, he looks so lean.
He looks so lean.
He looks like a young lean dad. I
There you go.
love it.
Yep.
That's
I
awesome.
got
Is
one.
that what is the
Huh?
accessories? What are the
Oh, it's
accessories
got a
there?
couple of fists in there.
Do they pop
Couple.
off
Yeah, I guess they
like
pop
fire at
off.
people?
I don't know.
I think my favorite one I've ever seen, I want to say it was from the WCW days, but there was an action figure of him with missile launching bagpipes. And
When
that is
did he
today's
do
favorite.
that?
I think it was WCW. They were hilarious. I think
When,
that's my favorite.
I don't recall that happening.
I have one somewhere in storage. I know that. But yeah, missile launching bagpipes.
Was your dad trying to figure out what that storyline was?
I don't even think he was part of the design. I think they just put him out. We were like, look at this.
Yeah. I got one too, an articulate one with the white shirt too, one of the Jax ones.
Uh-huh.
But I got them all stacked away. I'm still not totally unpacked here, That's why it's a mess behind me, and I've been here
Oh, I
two
get it.
years, you
We've been
know.
moving so much in the last couple of years. I don't even bother to unpack half the house anymore. It's like we're gonna move again in probably 2 months.
There you go.
Just constantly moving.
Where are you gonna move to?
Still, we're staying in Orlando. We just looking for when we moved to this place, we were in such a hurry. We just kind of grabbed the first thing we could get because we literally had to find a place like that day. So we just kind of like when our lease is up, we're like, we're out.
Oh, you're not gonna move to New Brunswick here?
It was
That.
on the top of my list. Top of my list. And he vetoed it because he hates New Brunswick.
Oh,
You
But
know
I
what?
love it. as a half Canadian.
You know what? New Brunswick, I have to joke with people. The Ultimate Warrior must be from here because he says he's from parts unknown, and nobody, even including yourself, didn't know where it was.
I'm not. I would have to use an Apple map. I know it's in Canada. Is it central?
Nope, we're an hour ahead of you.
You're an hour ahead. Wait.
Yeah.
How? So it's beyond the East Coast?
Yep.
Wait. Is
we're Atlantic Canada.
Huh. I didn't even know that was a time zone. Sorry, he's kicking things.
You know what? You mentioned in your book, Rowdy, which again is packed away here, but you mentioned in that book that WrestleMania 8, Bret Hart and Roddy Piper planned their match in Moncton, New Brunswick, which is just 2 cities away from me.
Well, that would make sense. They both love Canada from there, so it would make sense that they would spend some time there planning that match.
And of course, I like these.
And I got one of those.
Yeah, I don't have the kilt with them though. It's hard to find these with the accessories, but I got a bunch of these at a Comic Con a few years ago, and a lot of them were in very, very good shape, but I noticed with AEW they did one of Cody Rhodes, which I thought was cool, and I got it.
Oh.
But
there's one of the old vintage looking ones?
Yeah.
That's neat. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, they did one just like this of Cody Rhodes. And there's a company on Etsy, and I don't remember the name of it. They're doing a lot of the wrestlers that were never done like this. And to get them painted, which I would have to because I do a bad paint job, but they are a little pricey, and I think it was Princess Victoria that told me about it. But I did get a Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, done up that way. But they've been doing a lot, but they are a little pricey. But I grabbed him. But yeah, I got this. Actually, I got a couple of this of the Roddy Piper one, but one of them's almost entirely pink because whoever's kid had him did a coloring job. I got like 3 Terry Funks, and 2 of them looks like a dog got at them.
You know what though? My dad would have been happy that the kids had fun.
There you go. There you go. I just look at Terry Funk as too many hardcore matches. There you go. When are we going to get House of Heathen action figures at?
Good question.
That is a great question. I don't know. We should probably look into that. I know we got some plush toys of him going on, Slam Buddies, but we haven't looked into action figures yet. But it's probably around the corner. It's probably about time. I've had a couple people DM me about it.
You go do one where they have one of you and they have a little comb where you can comb your hair and all that stuff. We got Barbie Piper.
Barbie Piper.
No, mine's gonna have probably shooting fists, just like Dad's.
Yeah.
Maybe some missile launching bagpipes.
There you go.
Brass knuckle.
There you go.
Girls shouldn't worry so much about their hair. It's overrated.
There you go. Well, Deimos, I haven't talked much to you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Just waking up. But I'm doing all right.
You know what? I woke up probably about an hour ago, but wow. I was out. Yeah. Well, I was up all night because I wanted to hit the post office when it opened at 9 because I had a couple of gifts to send off, one to Texas and one to California. So they're not going to get there by Christmas, but oh well.
At least they'll get there, right?
They'll get there. Yeah. They'll get there.
Give them a nice after Christmas prize.
Yeah. There you go. So I was getting some of that stuff done, and then I come back here and got a little bit of sleep going on here, and then come on here with you guys, and then after I'm done with you guys, I'm probably gonna sleep some more before I go to work tonight at 11.
Oh, wow.
I'm jealous. I want to go back to bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to go to the gym.
Why don't you go back to bed?
I'm always tired.
Yeah, why don't
Maybe
you go
too
back to
sleep
bed?
after.
I bet you
Pardon?
he's gonna go back to bed.
I wish.
No,
We
I
gotta
gotta
go to
go
the gym.
train. It's like you have to be athletic or something in wrestling. It's nuts. You have to work out and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, back in January, I had your old sparring partner, Mr. Jerry Swirls, on here.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
swirls.
I had a good laugh. Actually, I discovered him through you guys because I don't get TV, so I don't get to watch any of the wrestling you got unless I see clips online. I don't get to
Uh-huh.
see it. But I saw, I don't know whether it was on Facebook, you guys were in a supermarket and Jerry Swirls was running around
Oh yeah.
spying on you guys. And you
You
guys like,
know, the thing with living in Orlando is
yeah.
all the other wrestlers tend to live in Orlando. So you tend to run into a lot of people.
I forgot about that.
That was
Yeah.
funny.
And you guys like threw something over your back and it conked him on the head or something. And that was my introductory to Jerry. And I was like, this guy's pretty funny. So, and I like his promos. I mean, he did one on, was it Gang Grill, where he was eating garlic on his pizza so he wouldn't get bit by the vampire.
That's pretty great. He's always good to laugh at. I'm sorry, for a laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nonetheless, I had a good chat with him. But I remember he was in the gym, in the ring when he was doing the Zoom with me.
He knows where a gym is?
Yeah,
That's
I'm
amazing.
so proud.
and you want me to tell you something? Is that how the interview ended up ending? Is that the custodian had to close the building and had to tell him to leave, and I was like, "Can't you win that fight?" He
Not
lost
really.
to the.
Not the custodians at a gym.
There you go. But he did boast and brag about beating you in a fight, Ariel. What happened?
I don't even know.
You got Kitty. You got Kitty. I see a kitty
Oh
behind
yeah,
you.
I have two cats. They're running
Oh,
amok
yeah.
like crazy right now.
Mine's ignoring me back there, but I got a black and white one as well. He might pop up here. He might. Actually, I got him on a mug because one of my coworkers did a mug with my cat on it for Christmas.
That's so cute.
Yep. Oh yeah. But nonetheless, apparently he leaked the info that he used an umbrella to beat you in the match.
I feel like it's the other way around.
What was it, raining?
Not an umbrella.
Oh, I think I hit him with the umbrella if I remember correctly.
Yeah, stuck it out his butt.
And I stuck it up his butt, but then I felt bad, so I gave him a pity win. You know, got to throw the guy a bone.
Did you stick it up his ass and then open it?
I thought about it.
Yep.
I thought about it. I didn't end up opening it.
No? Oh, that would have made the event memorable. Poor parents sticking the arms around the kid's head. Don't watch.
Wasn't sure if you still needed the umbrella, you know?
There you go. So where's your title?
Oh.
Well, right now it's over in the office.
Is it really there?
I can get it. If you want me to go get it, or he'll go get it.
Yeah, I need proof that you didn't lose that.
Well, that's this Go Wrestling Women's Championship.
Look at that. Look at that, nice and shiny. Now, who did you take that off of?
Savannah Thorne.
Yes.
Yeah, I was trying to remember her name. Savannah Thorne.
Oh wow, I know that name.
She does a lot of shows down here in Florida.
And you beat her for the belt.
Yeah.
So I heard that you got to keep that thing shined up because I heard that your next opponent is Geraldine Swirls. You afraid of that match?
I'm not aware of that match.
They call him the Golden Girl.
I am not aware of another rematch with that person.
No?
No, we don't have anything planned.
Are you lose sleep over that?
I forget he ever existed, to be honest.
What do you
Sorry,
mean he?
Jerry.
What do you mean he? It's Geraldine.
Geraldine Swirls.
Geraldine Swirls, the Golden Girl.
No, he's a funny guy. He's a funny guy, that's for sure. But I don't have any rematches or anything with him planned. I think that was just a one-off.
Oh, he's gonna be so upset to find out that he is not on the top contenders list for that.
I know he'll be shocked.
It's the only belt he can probably go for. Just saying.
Well, I'm gonna say the women's division, especially in WWE, has gotten really, really good. Of course, I love Charlotte Flair, awesome, but I think the women have gotten even better, Although I like a lot of the classic females, like I love Wendy Richter, Velvet McIntyre I was a big fan of, and of course Princess Victoria. I couldn't get Velvet on here because her hearing's not the best, but Princess Victoria was doing a thing online where she was doing autographs, and she had both her and Velvet sign photos. So I get in on that deal. So there you go.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, I did not know that Velvet was Canadian either.
Neither did I, actually.
There you go.
Yeah, the women's roster has definitely grown, and I think I don't even think that it's the talent has gotten better as much as it is the opportunity for good talent to shine. You know what I mean? Because I think there's been a lot of talented female wrestlers over the years that just never had the opportunity to show that they can wrestle. And now we're in a place where it's encouraged, and so you see it bringing out the best of everybody.
And plus, Moolah's not burying everybody. I heard all of that from Princess Victoria.
Well, I wasn't there for that era, so I can't speak on it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She cut loose. She loved your dad, and she loved a lot of people, but she hated Moolah, hated Vince, and hated Hogan.
Thanks.
Oh man,
those were her three big criticisms right there.
The tough business, that's for sure.
Yeah, but she did love Jim Cornette.
We all love Jim.
We love Jim Cornette for sure. He cracks us up. We listen to his podcast.
I love listening to his podcast.
It's great.
I don't know where he comes up. He once cut. I've listened to this one more than once. He did a 20-minute rant on Vince Russo. And at one point in there, I don't know where he come up with this, but he says that he'd like to. Okay. He said he'd like to take a baseball bat and bash his head in so that his brains splatter further than a hand grenade going off into a jello factory. And I'm like, where did you come up with that?
He's really a poet to me. I find him very inspirational.
I find him quite inspirational too. But I just listened to him last night talking about the release of Mandy Rose, and he was saying, gee, I didn't know about that stuff.
Yeah. I think Jim Cornette's one of the greatest minds underutilized in this industry today.
Me too. Absolutely. I feel like anytime something interesting happens in the business, I immediately am like, has Jim Cornette spoke on this yet? Let's hear what he has to say, because it's going to be good.
I think Jim Cornette should run for president. What do you think?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
I don't even care what his political views are. I just want to watch the presidential address. Let's do it.
Well, he hates Trump. I know that.
With a passion.
Been better.
With a passion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But nonetheless, our politics are incredibly much better here either, but nonetheless, I won't get into that. But but nonetheless, Deimos, I did see watch you online in a match where Ariel, you were on the outside. I don't know who you were wrestling, but I know you ended up back down. You're back down on a ladder. Now, how
Oh
do you prepare to take
no.
something like that?
Oh, I think it was when they power bombed me.
Oh yeah. Well, what the hell?
Well, you don't. That's like preparing for a car crash. You
Mm-hmm.
just hold on as hard as you can and breathe.
I've learned the bigger and more painful the moves, the more you should never even remotely think of trying them ahead of time, because then you just won't do it.
Yeah.
So you just go for it.
Honestly, it seemed less painful than being in the rest of that match.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I just got the easiest way out.
So you weren't coached or anything by somebody like Terry Funk or Mick Foley on that, because they would.
No. Even if I was, when I explained to them how to do it, they didn't do it correctly. So
No.
it went wrong, but it's okay. Yeah.
Did
It
you
was still worth it.
did you wind up injured from that? I know you had an injury.
Not
Maybe
from
you had
that,
more
but
than
shortly
one.
after that. So I was still suffering from issues I had from a prior surgery on my neck,
Okay.
and it made my right arm like mildly weak already. And then a couple matches after that one you're referring to, my arm just kind of gave out on me finally and tore, and then I had that repaired.
Now,
if you just back at it.
Yeah.
Now, if you just have one arm, would you still be able to take Jerry Swirls?
I wouldn't need arms.
He wouldn't even need to have his eyes open. I wouldn't believe that Jerry Swirls could come in with a machete and a baseball bat and have a chance against Deimos.
I don't think Jerry could beat her in a fight, so I'm not worried.
I wouldn't try her in a fight.
Thank you.
I wouldn't either.
I'm a lot more capable than I look.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you do a mean sleeper hold?
I do. I actually learned that was one of the moves my dad taught me. Actually, I originally learned it from him years ago. First, he taught me the shoot version, so I knew that for a long time, and then he kind of taught me how to make it more fun for wrestling, and that was the only move I actually ever learned from him directly. But one of the things I always find fun is a lot of people don't know this, but my dad actually mentored him, so he learned a lot from my dad. So it's been kind of a fun experience because we'll train together and he'll be teaching me stuff that my dad taught him, so it's kind of like it's kind of special.
Yeah, I remember the story last time you two were on here of Deimos in the ring with Greg the Hammer Valentine, and Valentine telling you you hit like a little girl or something like that.
Yeah, that's old stuff. Yeah, those guys wouldn't fit in today though in wrestling,
Well, Valentine could still fall on his face. He
It'd
timber
still
Ric
be
Flair.
tougher than the guy on TV today.
Yeah. Well, I remember you telling that story. Valentine said, "Hit harder, hit harder."
Yeah, that's back in the day. They didn't pull their punches,
Oh yeah,
they were all tough people.
Oh
now
yeah.
it's insane.
Yeah.
Now it's insane. Yeah.
I gave a guy a chop in a match and he cried and then told the promoter I hit too hard. And all I could think is, the fuck would you have done if this guy chopped you?
Yeah.
Ariel, that's no way
to dust.
That's no way to talk about Jerry.
Yeah.
He probably would.
He would. He would.
Speaking of sleepers, because I got to have you back next year, both of you back next year. I mean, we're not done here yet, but next year, of course, is going to mark the 15th anniversary of one of the greatest films ever made, Psycho Sleepover. We'll have to celebrate that.
No, God, let it die.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Blu-ray of that.
I always forget about that, and then you remind me.
Of course I remind you. Japers, anytime your name comes up, I bring that film up. I'm making sure you're tied to it.
Bless you. It makes me think of I remember Dad did a movie called Hell Comes to Frogtown that he was always embarrassed about, and this is my that one.
Oh, come on.
But it was fun to make. I'll give you that. It was fun to make.
Look, you're the only one. You got a knife in the back of the head, and then all of a sudden they talk about boys coming over, and everything's so I'm fine after that. You're running
It's
around
great
with this
after
knife.
that. All of the movie makes so much sense.
It does. It's like the Room of horror movies. I mean, the Citizen Kane of horror movies.
I know. They're like, all those horror movies, just put them all together. And then what? I don't know, at a slumber party.
There you go.
Why not?
There you go. You got any more movie roles coming up?
I have been so focused on acting, on wrestling that I haven't actually been pursuing acting at all. I mean, I'm always open for the opportunities, of course, but I've just been out in Orlando training, so it's just not high up on my radar right now.
Well, there's hints that there's supposed to be a remake of They Live, and I really don't want to see them do that, but
You know what? I have been hearing that since I was 19. At one time, it was actually in progress and something to do with the rights, but with Universal or someone like held it up for like a decade, and then I haven't heard about it since. And then it came back up again, and I think it'd be really cool to see with modern politics and technology. I think that part of it would be neat, but it's 50-50. They'd either do a really good job with it or they'd completely ruin it. One or the two.
well, I don't think they've done a remake of a John Carpenter movie yet that has been anywhere near as good. But
I think it would be awesome if they had John Carpenter do a sequel rather than a remake.
I would like to see that, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
was
would.
thinking,
I don't even know if he's still directing right now or what he's doing, but I feel like that would be awesome. Especially having the original director.
well, how about this? How about you be the starring role and you have the 5-minute fight in the alley?
I would love to. I would love to. I'm a big sci-fi horror movie fan. I would absolutely love to.
And Keith David's still around. You could beat him up in the alley.
Oh, or Keith. I'm sure I think I'd have to find a new opponent. I don't think Keith David would be down for me beating him up or trying to. I don't know. That guy's pretty tough.
Yeah.
And
I think I like Keith David's work too much to do that.
Oh, I liked him in There's Something About Mary.
Oh yeah, he's good. He's just everything he does. It's great. I love him in all this stuff.
But anyway, let's talk about wrestling this year. Deimos, there's a question for you.
That'd be awesome.
Since you're a tough guy, who's the toughest opponent you ever had besides Ariel?
Jeez.
Definitely me.
He said besides you.
I know, but I think I take like a top one.
Wow. Ever?
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
Greg the Hammer Valentine?
I wish.
Oh, gee, if he sees this, he won't like that.
When we say tough, are we talking about like challenging or like they just have a high pain threshold?
That's even a good question.
That's a hard way to answer that.
Like I heard, like Bret Hart says his favorite opponent was Kurt Hennig, for example. Loved wrestling Kurt Hennig. Ted DiBiase will say he loved wrestling Jake the Snake. So I'll go it this way. I'll start it with this. Which opponent did you gel best with in the ring?
Oh, all right.
Oh, well, that's not tough. That's just having fun. That's another one too. So many. Yeah.
It's not a lot of matches.
Yeah, Jesus. Man, I will say this. Just to, I guess, start with an answer. I think the wrestler who's brought out my highest A game would probably be like Harry Smith. I think anytime I ever got in the ring with Harry Smith, I knew that I had to bring 110% of myself. or I'd get run over. You know,
Davy Boy's son.
yeah,
He's good.
Did
I
he
think
have
he
any?
is the business's biggest sleeper in history.
Did
I think
he?
people underestimate the talents that guy brings to the ring.
Did he ever bring any stories about Dynamite Kid? I know Dynamite's his
No, we
uncle,
always
but
spend too much
Dynamite
time
was
talking about
interesting.
his other crazy family members who have documentaries out we should not speak about.
Holy cow, Dynamite was. I felt so bad how Outback Jack was treated by the Bulldogs. I
Oh,
felt bad. Yeah, you gotta hear those stories. That was cruel. But of course, they didn't fare well. Would have been the Rougeau brothers, though. But nonetheless. But did Harry Smith do the shoulder slam?
yeah, he does the running power slam, and it does not feel great.
That was an underrated WrestleMania match. WrestleMania 7, Davey Boy Smith took on the Warlord, and it was like, I thought it was impressive. He got the Warlord up on his shoulder and did that shoulder slam, Especially considering the Warlord
Warlord's a
was
very
bigger.
that's a
Yeah.
feat.
And that's why we do shoulder day.
Yeah, it's a
There you
very big
go.
man.
Not a weight to lift. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think he was like 285, 300. He's a big man.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, now let's go with the other question. Your toughest opponent in terms of a challenge to work with. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Let's go back to Greg the Hammer Valentine. He would always talk about loving the feud he had with Rugged Ronnie Garvin, because he said they were both stiff with each other. And I remember one match, Valentine's chest was bleeding, and he talked about this, and he said he loved it because, and I even heard Garvin talk about this too. They loved wrestling each other because they would just give it to each other, where some people don't like. Should say Shawn Michaels, but some people don't like you being stiff with them. but those two liked wrestling each other because they could be stiff with each other.
Right.
He
Yep.
loves that.
Well, then in that case, when it
Yeah.
comes to just physicality, Samoa Joe or Drew McIntyre, I think those two guys bring a whole different level to the game.
Drew McIntyre, yes, good, but Samoa Joe, nice.
Oh yeah.
What was your experience? Talk about that experience wrestling Samoa Joe.
I've both wrestled him and I've trained with him in mixed martial arts as well. So I've been on both ends of that. And he is lethal in every humanly possible way. I think a lot of people underestimate what he brings to the table because he's a heavier guy, but that does not slow him down. He is more agile and more fast than I could ever be. Like that dude is something fierce, and he's tough.
You know what? I always tell people don't underestimate somebody's size because, Dusty Rhodes moved really, really well for his size, and Rhodes could
Yeah,
wrestle really well. He could do a great 5-star match with Ric Flair, you know. But there's other guys that could move really well too, Big Boss Man moved really well. Even Earthquake, not bad for the speed he had. But Samoa Joe, I remember they had him in one WrestleMania, and he took out Rey Mysterio. And it's
I
just
didn't
like,
really get a chance to showcase what his skill sets were, though. You know, those are
I
very short.
know it was a
Yeah,
short match, but boy, when he got that arm around Mysterio's neck, it's like
yeah.
it's like going to the zoo and watching a tiger wrestle a teddy bear. It's like,
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, it's like
he is
Ray was
tough.
just had a putty in his hands.
Ray's such a sweetheart too. You know.
Yep, yep. But um, but um, but nonetheless, yeah, Samoa Joe would be an interesting encounter in the ring. Ariel, talk about well, no, forget it. Your toughest opponent hit you with an umbrella.
Yeah.
Isn't that your toughest opponent?
no.
No.
No, honestly, no.
Now,
Not even
who is
close.
your toughest opponent?
Honestly, one of the things I struggle with is there's not all, but I'd say a lot of the girls, especially on the indies, aren't very tough. So I have to like lighten up with them, and I'm used to training with more aggressive people. So like learning to find that balance for more delicate girls has been challenging. Let me think. I think my toughest opponent, it's usually just people that aren't very good, so I don't obviously have the reps under my belt that he has. So it's like usually I'll get stuck in a situation where I'm having to carry them a little bit more than probably I should have to at where I'm at in my career, or just taking things like I had a chick break my nose, I had a chick cut open my eye, just sloppy kind of stuff. And so for me, the tougher things are trying to fix things on the go in the ring for maybe less experienced people. I think that's the best way to put it.
She's trained with some of the toughest women in the space.
Yeah, and I've trained with some of the most badass women there are. So like it's kind of weird when I then step back and do matches with girls that are maybe more pretty, if you will, or more or trying to be pretty and not trying to like do the tougher side of wrestling as much as the fancier like twirly stuff, so it's kind of like learning to adjust for different people has been a little bit challenging for me, but I feel like I'm getting there.
Wendy Richter, I heard, was pretty tough back in the day.
I have heard that as well, but I have never got to work with her, so I don't know.
No, but I hear when I was interviewing Princess Victoria, he talked a lot about she said, for example, Sherry Martel, Sensational Sherry, was absolutely a lovely human being, but you want her on your side in a bar fight. Said she was pretty tough.
I feel like that's the legacy I would like to have.
There you go. But I saw an encounter. Did you ever wrestle Christy Jane? Do you know her?
No. I was trying to think for a second.
From SWE.
No, I didn't. I've met her, but I haven't wrestled her.
I've watched her in a few matches online, and I saw her in a match. I don't know what happened, but the opponent, and I don't know who the opponent was, she wasn't cooperating. And it ended up turning into a shoot, as what they call a shoot. And Christy ended up turning it around. But what happens when you get a situation like that and you have to handle that in front of an audience?
My personal opinion, it depends on where you're at. For example, there are certain venues where I don't really care if I come back to, and there would be certain places where I'm trying to protect my job more. I think that most wrestlers know ways to either, we give them receipts, as you call it, to try to settle them down, or I think the more modern way is just try to blow up the person in the ring, tire them out so that they can't really give you as much back. But as far as in front of an audience, it depends on the situation. I mean, like I certainly wouldn't want something horrific to happen at like a kid's birthday party. You know what I mean? But if you're doing a show at a bar late at night, I don't know. I don't see that audience caring so much if it gets a little violent. What do you think?
Oh, me, it's very different.
Yeah.
I'm a strong believer. It's not the venue or the company. It's the circumstances. Are you doing something reckless because you're untrained? Are you doing something reckless because you're taking liberties with my body? Like these are the things I would take into consideration depending on how I want to handle that situation. If you were just not good at your job but trying your best and messing up, well, then I would try my best to grab a hold and take control and get us back on track. But if you were taking liberties with me, I'll beat the shit out of you, and I don't care if it's in front of a bunch of kids or in an arena full of people.
When you wrestled Greg Valentine, I remember you was talking about when because he of course was a lot older, and you of course were a lot younger, and you didn't want to put yourself in the position where you harmed him, and of course he said give it to him. That's hard to know. Talk
That
about
happened a
that.
few.
Yeah. Well, talk about
Yeah.
that communication.
Well, a lot of I use that word, the old timers, but the
Mm-hmm.
veterans of our day, they're still stuck in that era where it has to look real by any cost, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess wrestling itself has evolved to where we've learned to do that, but without having to hammer each other to death. And I guess they are still, music back in my day type people, and I guess I try to approach it with the utmost respect to the way they want to see their work come across. But also sometimes you have to take, the responsibility in your hands as somebody who's a little bit more aware of what's happening to make those choices for them. So like I always try to give everybody what they want out of respect, but I also
Mm-hmm.
out of respect I have to make choices for them.
Now you mentioned the term receipt, and I've watched a video on wrestlers giving receipts and whatnot. I remember once I had listened to a shoot interview with Hillbilly Jim, and he was talking about a match he had with Ravishing Rick Rude, and he said that Rick Rude had accidentally clipped him hard, and he said Rude in the match actually apologized for it, and Hillbilly Jim did not give him a receipt because mistakes happen. But did you guys ever have a time in the ring where you guys had to give it a receipt out?
Yes. I have a rule. So I kind of I was taught this by the people who train me, and I kind of take it into myself as well. To make sure I hold myself accountable for not overreacting to things. I have a three strike rule. First one's an accident, second one's coincidence, third one's personal. So by strike three, you're gonna catch a receipt. Because obviously you're just being ignorant or not taking my health into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, we're in a physical industry where live rounds happen and people make mistakes. You don't punish them for mistakes, you punish them for bad choices.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good answer. I never thought of it that way. What about you, Ariel?
I haven't had anyone yet really go after me. There's been a couple things that have happened where I've gotten a couple stiff things where everyone asked if I'm okay, and I probably should have given a receipt, but genuinely I was just too in the moment where like I don't really feel it didn't feel as hard to me as it might have been. So like I think that I'm still kind of learning that balance because I like to like I don't mind physicality as much as some other people, like especially girls, so I'm still kind of learning when it's appropriate. But for the most part, no one's really taken extreme liberties with me yet.
Oh, I
I
hope
know
it
that
don't
day will
happen.
come, and let me tell you, I am ready.
Now they talk about, of course, blood. You don't see a lot of in wrestling now. I kind of, in a way, miss that because it's weird seeing a cage match without blood, But like I remember Ric Flair would bleed. Something went like that to him. but but nonetheless, have you two ever had to do the blade job?
um, Not for wrestling, I haven't.
Well, I could
Uh,
tell your head's not looking like Abdullah the Butcher, so I guess that you've
no,
avoided it.
personally, I think I wouldn't waste it on a match that didn't have a lot of relevance. You know what I mean? You don't. I think it's silly to waste things like that on in a show with 200 people that very few people will see. You know what I mean? And you see a lot of these people running around doing things like that, thinking it's their WrestleMania moments, and
For most of them, it is.
for some of them it is. But I think that is unnecessary. Also, I think that those moments get thrown away too easy, and I would do it, but it would have to be a match that mattered. You know what I mean? It would have to be in a relevant platform somewhere that matters for me to
You're
go
too
that.
beautiful, Ariel. Don't do it. Although I'm gonna say this, I read Lita's book, and I forget who she was in a match with, but somebody she did a high risk move, and somebody had stuck their caught their it was a mistake, you know, it wasn't done on purpose, but their boot caught her in the face, and she ended up bleeding. And Lita said when in the book, when she got back in the locker room and looked at her face covered in blood, she was like, "Wow, this is cool."
We were at a show recently where like this kid freaking had like barbed wire and tacks and threw himself onto barbed wire through a table, and I don't even remember what else, for like his parents were there for some reason, which was extra sad, and just went through all of this stuff. And he was so nervous. And all I could think is the ambulance ride is going to cost a lot more than your payday. Wouldn't it be easier just to learn how to wrestle?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like I see that, and a lot of times it just feels like a cop out in a weird way. Like it feels like, yeah, those moments are awesome in certain settings and certain matches and certain platforms. But if you're just working around the indies doing these shows, you know, trying to get your reps, trying to get better in the ring, you should probably be focusing a lot more on your craft, because bleeding isn't going to get you over or get you signed. You know what I mean?
Yep. Actually, Jim Cornette criticizes this kind of wrestling a lot, but two people he never criticized were Terry Funk and Mick Foley, because they took the
Mick Foley's
business serious. Yeah.
Mick Foley's like the toughest man alive.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
But, you know, to me, that's very different. Like Mick Foley is an icon, and he has done it. He's
sorry. I get really tired of people comparing Mick Foley to all these hardcore wrestlers. Just because he does hardcore stuff. There's a very big difference between Mick Foley and a jerk off at a bar show.
Yeah, I agree.
Mick Foley was a great entertainer and a great worker and a great storyteller and a great athlete for someone his size, that also had a pain threshold that could separate him from the rest of the card. Mick Foley showed up to work a good worker, and found a way to etch his own path to separate him and make him a star in his own right, away during a time where maybe body guys were the stars or better talkers were the stars. So that made him innovative and incredible. But just like when Bray Wyatt comes down to the ring in a Hawaiian shirt and white pants, these morons on the internet see that, and then they think that's the cheat code to being worse at their job. You know, so you get a bunch of goofs on the internet or in the indies or these quote unquote deathmatch shows or whatever you want to call it, emulating something that they don't understand because they don't know enough to know that they don't know.
It's exactly the right.
They're not workers, glorified stuntmen.
Yeah. Mick Foley, though, was trained a lot by Terry Funk too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another great storyteller.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, even
because the blood and the guts is supposed to be dessert with dinner.
Yeah.
You know, that's supposed to be the dinner, and these goofs on the internet, they think that's dinner.
Exactly.
You know? That's why they look like dessert, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, even like in the matches in Japan, and by the way, Foley and Funk didn't have to bleed to make an entertaining match either. That's something that a lot of these people don't get. You know?
Absolutely. You know?
Yeah. Like
he said, he was good at the dessert, but he also knew how to serve dinner. And, you know, people just think it's a shortcut to something, and it's not. It's just, honestly, I view a lot of people doing it on the indies and stuff like that as lazy.
Here's how you know that there's a difference between Mick Foley and all these other quote unquote deathmatch guys, aka shitty workers. If you take the deathmatch element away from Mick Foley, you get a Dude Love who is over and entertaining and in main events. You get Mick Foley with Mr. Sacco, who was entertaining and over with the fans. I mean, this guy was so good that without going through tables and thumbtacks, he sold socks with a face, drawn on them as merchandise, just as much as an Austin 316 shirt. You'll never see a Nick Gage be able to do that. You know what I mean?
Yep, I agree. No, I agree with you 100%, you know. Mick Foley kind of fell into the same category of what Terry Funk did. Terry Funk once said, you might not believe in wrestling, but you'll believe in me. See, he made you believe what he
dad
was
said
doing.
that
My
too.
dad said that a lot.
Your dad, yeah, yep. I mean, again, your dad also knew how to work it, and he also didn't have to bleed to make himself believable, you know.
Hmm.
But you still got that. Speaking of which, do you still have that dog collar?
I do. I do.
Your dad and the hammer. I remember
I do.
reading about the rash.
Oh yeah, it's definitely it's yeah. Oh, it's so when you feel the collar, it's so like you felt it. It's like wool and scratchy. Like oh, there's nothing comfortable about it. It's almost like the lining made it worse. It's like they put this wool in to try to make it better, and it's way worse.
I think it's hilarious that your dad was asked to come up with the most dangerous match possible, and he did, and then only to discover it was for him and Valentine.
That is how it goes, right?
Oh,
Punished
yes.
for doing it right.
If he had
But
known
good
that was
match.
for him and Valentine, would he have come up with something simpler?
I don't think so.
Oh,
Knowing
really?
him,
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think?
I know he would have still done it.
I think he still would have done it. Yeah.
Your dad did a lot of cage matches. That I do remember.
Yeah. He definitely wasn't afraid to get physical, but he also, that was a time when it was like he said earlier, people were hammering each other and he was a smaller guy. My whole childhood, people would come up to us and be like, "Oh, I didn't know you were so big in real life because on camera next to people that are 7 feet tall." You know what I mean? He looked a lot smaller, but so I think because of that, he always felt the need to go extra hard. You know what I mean? To try to like be comparable to these monster men. And so I think that that's probably part of why he was willing to do more aggressive matches sometimes, just to show that what he brings to the table as well. He was very tough, but I don't know anyone in that time period that wasn't super tough.
It's true.
I can't think of anybody that I'm like, oof, there's a lot of men among men there.
He had to be.
Yeah, only those people survived it.
I remember he did a cage match with Bruno Sammartino, so he got to wrestle one of the greats there, and of course, has wrestled Andre the Giant. Now, I saw a picture online of you with Andre's daughter. How
Yeah,
cool was that?
I thought was really neat. I only got to meet her in person once. We happened at the same signing together, and she was a sweetheart, and yeah, it was just cool, I don't know what to say about it. She was just a very nice person, it's I guess with both of our dads gone, it was kind of like a sweet moment getting to meet her, and obviously her dad is transcended wrestling, and is a legend in the world itself. So it was just cool to meet each other.
Yeah. Let's talk about the convention scene a little bit because I've seen some pictures of you guys at the convention. You guys got to run into Bret Hart at one of the ones you were at.
Yeah,
That must have been a nice little meet.
it was sweet. He's always asking how my family is, how my mom is.
Now, did he take his shades off and put them on Deimos' head?
No.
He did not. But had he, I would have wished to have filmed that. No.
I don't remember who all you met there. Who all did you run in? You ran into Sergeant Slaughter, of course.
Uncle Bob. Yeah.
Uncle Bob.
Yeah. It's always nice seeing him. He was actually at a random show we did in Georgia, and it was so cute.
Yeah.
It was so sweet because we were doing our match, and he came in and started yelling at me and shit talking me in the middle of my match, and it was like, thanks. So that was kind of a cool moment for me.
So you were in the ring, or were you? Table. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So who else? Deimos, who have you met? I know you met Roddy, of course, and but is there anybody you met that just kind of blew your mind?
I've met everybody at some point. I've developed relationships with a lot of them. What do you mean by blow my mind, though? Like, in what way?
Just a second, my mind is blown. You got that cool colored cat there outside you.
Oh, it's a Bengal. Yeah.
Wow.
He doesn't want to.
Looks like a serval.
He's a
Oh
Bengal.
my.
Surprised me with it a few months ago. It's just a
Look
baby.
at that. There you go. I do that with my cat, and he does the same thing, tries to get away. No, like maybe you haven't, but anybody, like, for example, you grew up watching, you met them, and it was like
Oh, but
wow,
when I first met some of these people, it was kind of a cool experience. You know, the first time I met Hogan or her dad or Undertaker, or, you know, it's kind of cool to see these people in real life. You know, but I was very you know, blessed to be able to stay around these people and build relationships with them. You know, but yeah, definitely the first time you meet people you watch growing up. Honestly, I think the most, I wouldn't say mind blowing, but definitely intimidating person I've ever met for the first time was probably Triple H.
okay.
You know, because Triple H was someone that I molded myself as an entertainer and a worker after. So being able to see him in person and speak to him and, you know, get his vibe and stuff for the very first time was kind of a cool experience, considering that he was the reason I was even in front of him. That was kind of cool.
Now, do you? There's a lot going on online. You think because I hear Triple H is doing a much better job with WWE now that Vince is retired.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's almost like, can they keep him out?
Yeah, they can. Yeah. What's your question?
I go. What was my question? Is he? Are they going to need to keep Vince out of that?
I mean, if they bring Vince back, it will be because they choose to, not because they have to. But I think the real question is he running a better ship?
I think,
And
yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
is 100%.
I'm hearing good things.
You know, like, you know, the thing is, you know, whenever when you have a new person in creative, they have their own playbook, and just like every playbook ever is human error. There are things that are done right and other things that are done wrong. No one's perfect. But I think that his good triples outweighs his bad, you know, in comparison to other people that have been in office before him. I think that he is the best thing to happen to that company, you know, in a long, long time, that was much needed for many reasons. Like I said, you know, he does good things and bad things, but the good definitely outweighs the bad. And he's continuing to grow, and the company continues to grow.
I think it's very exciting having him and Stephanie too. Like, geez.
Yeah.
I think it's exciting. I think it's a fun time to be a wrestler. There's a lot of crazy stuff. It's sort of like the Wild West again in wrestling, it kind of feels like. But it's all feels good. You know what I mean? There's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot more excitement. I think the fans are loving it. You know, I just think that wherever wrestling's going right now, we're not really sure, but it seems like it's going in a good direction.
And, you know, people take out the element that, you know, it's not always suspense. You know, and I can speak from my own experiences and the other people I know that work there's experiences. It is much easier to do your job with more passion and more energy when you enjoy the person you work for.
Absolutely.
And respect. It's a key word. The person that you work for. So I think that, you know, Triple H mainly, and, you know, obviously Stephanie, they bring a level of respect to the office that was needed and it had been lost over time, which makes the locker room step their game up because they want to, not because they have to or threatened to. They want to because they want to show Triple H the respect he deserves, and that they needed a leader like that. So their body of work goes up because they want to be there. You know, I'm sure that a lot of them don't take deep breaths before they enter the arena anymore. You know, so like that changes the atmosphere and it changes the morale and it changes your body of work when you don't hate going to work every day.
Yeah, I always liked Stephanie McMahon too. I mean, I've seen her in the ring with Brock Lesnar. I mean, you got to kind of respect her on that, you know.
Absolutely.
But you mentioned because Triple H was, of course, trained by Harley Race, and so he would have learned a lot from Harley Race. What have you learned in the ring, like taken from Triple H that you employ in the ring?
A lot of his storytelling and psychology, I embodied a lot of that. Obviously his physique, I think that, it doesn't matter how good you are at wrestling moves if you don't look like, they're believable, then it doesn't really matter. So like I think his look, his aesthetics, his promos, his style in the ring, everything, I study all that and take bits and pieces from all of that. I think that Triple H is one of the most perfect embodied wrestlers in this industry ever. That's a short list.
I think for me, I always go to Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Yeah, the ultimate babyface.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Steamboat was just so smooth in everything he did, and those big arm drags and whatnot. And even when he fought Chris Jericho, he still had it, But
Absolutely.
yeah, but he knew when to get out when the time was right. Because I think Ric Flair wanted to do his last match with him, and Steve was like, "Yeah, I think it's time to shut it down."
Yeah. But then
Yeah,
Steamboat went and did his own last match. So no, they're never done.
there you go. They're done. But you guys ever think you're gonna get to WWE and do a WrestleMania?
I mean, if it's not your goal, then you don't belong in this business.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
obviously, WrestleMania is the biggest wrestling show on earth when you think about it. And for me, obviously, my dad doing the first one, there's some nostalgia there as well. But, it's a business. So if you don't want to make it to the best place you possibly can, or as far as you possibly can in front of the biggest audience and feel that moment, then why are you in it? You know what I mean?
well,
I would
you
love to experience that.
you posted something on Facebook where you were in the same ring where your dad beat the adorable Adrian Adonis,
Yeah.
WrestleMania 3. To me, still the best WrestleMania. I love that WrestleMania.
Let me tell you, it's stiff. It's a
Yeah.
stiff ring. He
Yeah.
told me, he's like, just so you know, it's gonna be stiff. And I was like, oh, it was, but it was
Yeah.
really, really cool. And you know, um, it's just very, I don't know, weirdly emotional for me. I don't know. It's a really cool experience. So
Do you know when they changed the stiffness of the ring?
I don't know.
Is when Vince McMahon had to take his first bump.
Well, that makes sense.
And he was like, well, we're going to soften this up. And that changed the way they made the ring.
Japers, Ric
all the
Flair took
wrestlers like,
offense
we've
on
been
that.
telling you.
So all the rings before the Attitude Era are stiff as a board, like a boxing ring almost.
It's funny
Poor dad.
because you go way, way, way back, and they didn't even have the mats on the outside of the ring. It was concrete. Like
Mm-hmm.
when Harley Race slammed Andre the Giant, it's like there's concrete on there. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it shows over time. It definitely wears and tears on your body, especially you see with that generation. So
Well, they started putting the mats on the ring when they started to bring in wrestlers from other nations like Mexico and Japan and stuff who do dives
Hmm.
and flips. Because before that, just American wrestling was just big burly men in the middle of the ring. That's why the rules are you're not allowed to leave the ring. It's because they didn't.
Hmm.
They never threw each other over the top rope, which was a rule back then as well. They just weren't allowed to leave the ring. So they didn't need mats outside the ring until they started to have more flyers come in that did dives or stuff off the top and stuff. Then all of a sudden they needed mats outside the ring. So I
Yeah,
guess, the set evolved as the wrestlers did.
absolutely, absolutely. So, what do you guys have coming up? I know you guys had an event. Speaking of old timers. You had a main event between Jerry Lawler and Scott Steiner. I was like, oh my goodness, those two are still going at it in there. Um,
Yeah,
but nonetheless, what do you two have coming up?
that's a you question.
what are we talking about? Well, let's see. We're gonna go back to Diamond Championship Wrestling next year for some of their shows. They're based out of Mississippi, Alabama area. They kind of
Hmm.
go between the two. We also do a lot with well, no, we're not doing that. What is the I'm trying to think of there's some of it we can't.
Yeah, right now we're just really focused on getting training in shape, for opportunities coming up. So it's more away from the shows and more of just training and working out and stuff like that.
We're kind of gearing. Yeah. Right now we're in a place where we're gearing up to go up a level and make some moves. So we're focusing on training and stuff. We did get to go to Greece over the summer and do a round of shows out there for a company called Snack.
Yeah, which I saw some pictures. Awesome. Yeah.
So that was really
celebrate
cool.
Our honeymoon.
And we had a honeymoon out there. Yes.
Oh, you guys got amazing on the island. Married.
Yeah.
we got married a while ago. We just haven't had like a big wedding. You know what I mean? So like we wanted to get in on a honeymoon while we were out there. We went to the island of Crete and it was amazing. And I kind of want to just live there now. So since then we've gotten back. We've really just been focusing on training, and we have cool stuff on the horizon. So we're just kind of getting ready to amp up a lot for 2023. We'll still be doing all the same local shows and promotions that you've seen us in the past, but we're just getting ready for more,
Yeah, just it's one of those, you have to take a step back before you take a leap forward.
Yeah.
And we're at that part.
Absolutely. Well, Deimos, I know I asked this question to you last time, but just in case your answer's changed, anybody who's the opponent you want to wrestle most? Like, and then I mean, who would you like to go in the ring with?
Is this ever or just for company or what?
Ever, yeah, ever.
Well, unfortunately, my dream opponent retired this year. So I don't really know. I guess I have to see
who retired.
Triple H.
Oh, Triple H. Okay.
Yeah, so that won't happen now. So I guess we'll see who else piques my interest to that level.
I bet Stephanie's still stepping in the ring.
She probably would, actually. She probably would.
She's in good shape. I'll give her that,
Awesome.
Yeah. What about you, Ariel?
Let me think. I mean, there's a few people I don't know if I have any one dream opponent, but there's definitely a few girls that like I would love to have a match with. Asuka was one of the girls that originally, when I started looking at wrestling, I was like, well, if this is what women are doing, hell yeah. You know what I mean? That's what made me kind of, her and Becky Lynch were obviously two of the girls that made me really want to see what it's all about and where wrestling and women have come these days. And I just personally love Asuka's shit in the ring. I think it's awesome. Let me see. Zoe Stark. She's over at NXT, and I think she's amazing. I just like her physicality and everything. I think it'd be fun to have a match with her. Who else? Obviously, Charlotte Flair is another one that's high up there. I think the storytelling alone would be very fun. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really killer women out there right now, so it's hard for me to like pinpoint one, but there's certainly a lot that I would love the opportunity to. I'm
waiting for the Teal Piper versus Tamina Snuka match.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
I think now that I look back at it, I think of the current working rosters around the world, I think a quote unquote fun dream match would be me and her versus Seth and Becky.
That would be crazy awesome. Yeah.
Wow. There you go. That would be interesting. You would be, of course, the powerhouse, and Seth Rollins, of course, doing a lot of the high flying stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the interesting thing about the Shield. You had three different types. You had Roman Reigns as the power guy, Seth Rollins was the high flyer, and then you had Dean Ambrose, John Moxley now, as the brawler. You had three very different styles. I really enjoyed that about them. I actually felt bad when they split them up. Because I think it would have been a great WrestleMania match to have them against the Wyatt family at WrestleMania, but that didn't happen. But yeah, do you think you guys would win? Tell me you guys would win.
Of course we would.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That's what I want to hear. Teal, you would slap Becky around?
Yes.
She'll never see this. She'll never see it.
Oh, she can. Seth's got a lot of answers. He doesn't have an answer for me.
He's been hiding.
Yeah.
He's been hiding.
Yeah.
It'd be a fun match, that's for sure.
Well, you know what? It was a lot of fun having you two come on here today. First up, Ariel, I still feel so grateful and appreciative when you did the Doubtfire Face challenge, but my birthday there a few years ago, and I've got that up on the YouTube, and yeah, I still watch it from time to time. That was fun to see.
I'm glad I entertained you.
Well, I've had a few wrestlers in it. James Ellsworth did one, and Tori Wilson did one. You know?
Oh, okay. All
Yep,
right.
yep, they did one, but I found yours. Huh?
I said Tori Wilson was shocking.
You know what? Actually, a podcast I recommend you guys to do is Scotty McCoy. He does a show called Slasher Scotty. He's been on my show 6 times, and I've been on his 3. And he's been asking me about you guys, but he was the one that told me go after people on Cameo about that. And he was actually first pitching about wrestling because he's a big wrestling fan as well. And so Tori Wilson was one of the people he mentioned. I was like, I'm going to try her. And I was actually quite shocked she did it, but I think it's actually really cool. And I'd love to have her on here, but haven't been able to cross those channels yet. But I always liked Tori Wilson. So, and James Ellsworth had on here, and he did one as well, and got to talk to him about getting his ass kicked by all the females. He said, "Look, it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it."
The scary thing is he's the successful Jerry Swirls.
There you go. There you go. And I hadn't had a lot of wrestling, but I've had Princess Victoria on here, and I had Larry Zbyszko earlier this year.
All right.
That was really cool. I talked a lot about Showdown in Shea with Bruno, with him, and that was pretty cool. Did you meet Larry?
Yes.
You met Larry. Okay, yeah. He was a really cool guy to talk to. But no, I really appreciate you doing that. That was a lot of fun seeing you do that. Yeah, so I'm glad you were able to do that and get a kick out. Deimos, did you get a kick out of that video of her doing that?
I thought it was funny. Yeah,
There you
for sure.
I like that at the end of it. It's in my hair.
Yeah, that's the worst part, the hair.
How long did it take you to clean it off?
I just had a shower. I mean, it came off.
There you go. You didn't get much in your hair. I didn't see much in your hair.
My hair needed washed anyways. It was just the cherry on top.
I didn't see any cherries in there. You guys have got to come up this way to wrestle sometime, so I
would love to. I know we've spoken to a couple promoters in Canada, trying to figure out stuff for maybe 2023. But I'm always looking for promotions. I don't know too many up in that area, so if you know,
you don't even know where this area is.
Exactly. Let alone promotion.
This is a parts unknown area. But nonetheless, I'm congratulations on your marriage, Deimos. You got great taste in women. I think she's gorgeous. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, and I hope you have a great Christmas. I'm glad to see I'm ahead of somebody in the Christmas shopping.
Definitely me.
There you go.
Forgetting it's coming.
Skittles over there resting. He would not make an appearance.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, Skittles over there curled up asleep. But maybe sometime next year I'd love to have you both back on. You're always welcome.
Love
And
to.
Yeah, I love keeping in touch with you and sending you some odd text regarding him. Remember last year I sent you that text? I asked you if you were taking Deimos Christmas caroling, and you responded to me with, "What?"
Yes. Yes, I do.
Every once in a while, I get in one of those little moods.
Well,
But
maybe 1 year we'll get him.
Oh,
One year I'll get him to go.
well, first he's got to get his ultimate training. He needs to be humbled by the Iron Sheik.
oh God,
Absolutely.
everyone's humbled by the Iron Sheik.
You need to be humbled by the Iron Sheik. He has to put you in the camel clutch and make you humble.
Oh,
Anyway,
man.
before I let you two go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Sure.
Yeah. Just state your names. Say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise. Go for it.
Hi, I'm Teal Piper, and this is how are we doing this?
I'm Teal Piper. This is Deimos.
Okay. I'm Teal Piper.
And I'm Deimos.
And you are listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
And we are with House of Heathens, the future tag team champions. Yes, they're going to take intergender matches way up. They're going to make they're going to make the Miz and Maurice retire. They're going to make Triple H and Stephanie retire. Jim Cornette and Brother Love, I don't know. But nonetheless, thank you two so much for coming on here today. And I'm really glad we were able to keep in touch. And again, we'll have you on next year. After all, Psycho Sleepover celebrates, and we got to get a sequel to that, and we got to celebrate.
I feel like I could shoot a sequel with a cell phone camera on like a boring Tuesday and have better footage.
There you go. There you go. Have you seen it, Deimos?
No,
I have not.
Well, there you go. There's a date night.
I don't even watch my own movies.
Why not?
I don't know. I'm not. I guess when you work somewhere, you just don't need to work there again. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, when you make a movie, it's not as fun to watch it. I don't know.
Well, you're going to get a lot more attention over that movie if I have anything to say about it.
I'm sure you will.
I'm going to tell everybody about this movie. I'm going to say, if you see Ariel at a show, bring a DVD of that movie and tell her I'm proud.
That's hilarious. It was fun.
I got a kick out of it. I got to admit, it was funny. It was a nice horror comedy, you know? So there you go. So I'll give it that. But anyway, thank you two so much. Merry Christmas to you both.
Merry
and a happy 2023 to you both.
Thank you too, man. It was nice talking to you.
Absolutely. God bless you both.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Yeah. Bye-bye.